if you read your press clippings today, you see the number of crimes that are being cleared by posting this stuff. That's just amazing. It's foreign to me. I know it's important to be all done. Keep it up. Betsy is, I'm not conscious, because she always tells me I need to get on board with Twitter, Facebook, or whatever you do. I had to come out to the conference I was at last week, and somebody said something about Twitter, Facebook, and I did not know you could do that. And I had to come in there, she was gone, and I was someone lost because you were out vacation. Apparently you do those things. But my phone doesn't do it. I always tell Parker, my phone's up here as smart as his.
Could be pilot error. Might be pilot error.
Okay, we'll get back in order. Thank you, Tony. You go now.
Come on.
You don't have to.
No.
Bye, Tony.
See you later.
Bye, Tony. Bye, Tony.
Okay, we're going to get back on track here now. And Mr. Collins, who is leaving on vacation in the morning, would like to get to his development update before he leaves on vacation. Mr. Collins. You may not ever see him again, by the way. He's going down to Deliverance River.
As long as Margaret and the kids come back.
So the theme song, The Deliverance, was intentional when you go through the development update. We wanted to do something a little bit different. We would typically take time during the development update to highlight construction activity. Well, there's not a whole lot of construction activity right now. But the good news is, as y'all well know, before it reaches a stage before y'all are considering site plans or SUPs and before building construction plans are turned in, we have the opportunity at the staff level to get to talk to brokers and potential end users and the various disciplines that are involved in the construction activity. So what we wanted to do was just take you on a real quick little tour of the city, if you will, and hopefully the take-home message would be that there's some optimism that has returned into the marketplace, and there are people that are kicking tires on property on various types of development that's really occurring in different places throughout the community. The former Mooyah Burger here, we had a confirmation with the owner of that they are continuing the negotiation of the contract terms for a new restaurant. They're trying to finalize what will be the construction plans to turn this portion there on the north side of that building into a patio area. Across the street at Glade Parks, just a quick note that if you've not driven there, this week they have started mowing down a couple of weeds that were out there, and we would expect to have a more detailed update for you in August on where they're expected to take that development into August and September. Let's take you on the east side of Gateway on property that is owned by Hinckley's. This would be on the north side of the Bear Creek, Little Bear Addition rather, south of the detention pond that's part of the shops at Vineyard Village. This property is under contract for a potential single-family residential development. Again, as we walk through here, the point is not that these are going to come forward necessarily as a site plan. It's that there's a level of activity that people are expressing interest in vacant undeveloped tracts throughout the community. Another piece of property is under contract on the west side of Bays Road, south of the Ashbrook Estate, south of Glade Road. Another infield site that you've got some interest in single-family development. While we're out there, you'll notice that the rock and brick has been delivered to Starlight Court for them to begin construction of the masonry screening wall that will be built there on the east and the south side of the development. Again, we're hopping around to different parts of the city. We are at the northwest corner of Harwood and the 360 service road. You've seen pictures of this vacant land, but what's new with this is there's a new owner of that property. You might remember that there was some excess property that TxDOT had owned that was never going to be used for the widening of 360. The fellow that owns this property now went through the process through TxDOT to get that property that y'all were involved in allowing him to do that about a year and a half ago. So that's going to be about, a little less than an acre that he'll be able to couple with this. The amount of vacant property, if you continue north from Harwood to get south of the College Park Apartments, no relationship, is about 13, 14 acres. This individual is trying to get all of that property under control for a future development. What's really sparking some of this interest right now is what's being made in public statements about the future extension of Harwood Road to connect into the airport. That's spurring some new interest. Dominion at Riverwalk, real quickly, this is a view looking to the east, which would be the entrance to the urban loft development that y'all will be considering in the future, confirmed with the developer that they're continuing the negotiation of that land. Y'all can see a site plan for that development in September, probably into the October timeframe. Northeast corner of Pipeline and South Industrial, again, to indicate that there's levels of interest being expressed in property throughout the community, including this hard corner here for potential retail development. This particular user's actually got interest up and down the 157 corridor, but we thought it was cool that they were looking, quite candidly, south of the Airport Freeway for a nice investment in there. Yes, Forest Farm. And then one last picture that I did not get to place on here just because the meeting took place this afternoon. There's a fellow that's got a couple of acres under contract in some industrial zone area to build a warehouse. He's currently in some rented space in the Mid-Cities area. He looked all over northeast Tarrant County and he said, I think Euless is the very best location for the wholesale distribution business that I'm associated with. He provides accessories for sale by major Western store retailers throughout this southeastern, southwestern United States and even up into Canada. And he's started his business about 8 or 9 years ago, and it's grown, and now he's making an investment to own his own building that he'll operate his own business out of. So those are kind of fun to work with to try to help them go after their dreams.
We just signed a lease today at the where the Army was. I didn't even heard it. It's called IT and it's TEA for you. Don't know anything else about it. Didn't know anything to do with the negotiation until I got the signed lease on the desk.
No, that's a new big thing. It's our tea stores instead of coffee stores.
Yeah.
Specialty foods like
So-
Tivana and
Yeah. So
Mike, is the Muya property that you mentioned, is that in negotiation with a new franchise owner or a different business?
Totally new restaurant.
Yeah, I think
they die.
that's not only a possibility, but a probability of the new restaurant. And I think you're going to be thrilled to see it. It will be something that doesn't exist in our area. It will be rather unique, a little more upscale than Muya. Muya was a good burger. I mean, we're not knocking them off. I like Muya. But it'll be something different. The greatest part about it, I told you about the guy before that's doing this, somebody that Betsy brought to the table. But it's his first step into our market. He's a Dallas guy that is extremely well funded. And what I'm excited about, the one restaurant that he's planning is exciting, but it pales in comparison to what he has the potential to bring. And this is his kind of dipping his toe into our market that is extremely exciting for us. We had a conference call Friday know that there have been all kinds of promises made. They're actually doing some grading out there. They're yesterday, they're doing what they told us they would do. They have signed contracts now for some businesses. Nothing that's going to knock your socks off to start with, but they said fourth quarter of this year you will see buildings going up out there. And the best part about it is we have talked about the new ownership and how well funded they are in our discussions with them about the major infrastructure needs out there. They will probably be fronting some money for that. And we'll be bringing you much more information about that hopefully in August. But they did not be sinking the kind of money that they can sink out there if there was not reality. And I think we're disappointed in the rates here today, but the rates are a reflection of the economy, our construction costs. We got bids to talk about here in a little bit on our water project. They're a little bit more than what we expected, but it is also we're selling concrete, we're selling bricks, we're selling all kinds of stuff. It is we can't overlook the good news in all of that, and I get out on the not so good news. But there's a lot of work going on right now. And like showed you across the city, it's an exciting time that we can just keep that national economy and national focus and optimism going. Any questions for Mike?
The hall's going to be wonderful to get rid of.
Yeah. Okay, Miss Janina is going to bring us her second ever financial report.
I used to do them here, so it's probably number two. But I gotta find a new place on the agenda because I keep coming after these great slides of, splash parks and neighborhood stuff.
Well, you got good news, don't you?
Yes, I have good news.
Okay. You got me.
Well, eventually we'll have a wastewater report.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to follow that.
All right, well, tonight's report summarizes the financial activity through the month of May. We're now 8 months through fiscal year 2013, or 67% of the way through the fiscal year. At the end of May, the fund balance for the debt service fund continued to increase due to timing of debt service payments. And year to date, the general fund balance is still positive. However, due to the normal cycle of collections and year-round spending, fund balance is slightly smaller than last month. Increases are also reflected in the EDC and CCPD funds due to strong sales tax collections. The car rental fund balance decreased from last month, although there were stronger collections that you'll see. Fund balance is still negative year to date because of the planned funding of approved capital projects at the beginning of the fiscal year. In the proprietary funds, the planned funding of capital projects resulted in a decline in fund balance in the water and wastewater fund and the drainage fund year to date, but are still up from last month. The Texas Star Sports Complex has reported an increase in fund balance for the year, but is down compared to last month, while the golf course has realized an increase year to date in compared to last month. Most of the other proprietary funds experienced relatively minor increases or decreases in fund balance at the end of the month. In the internal service funds, equipment replacement decreased due to the purchase of several vehicles earlier in the year, offset by monthly collections from the various cost centers. The risk fund has also decreased year to date due to payments from the annual premium for property liability and workers' comp insurance coverage. The health insurance fund balance is now starting to show a decline as planned in the original budget. And overall, we began the year with $36.6 million in the operating funds. And at the end of May, we have a combined fund balance of almost $42 million. The capital projects fund combined fund balance is down from where we began the year and has continued to decrease since last month due to expenditures paid on the projects that are currently underway. And as these projects progress through the year, you'll continue to see this balance decrease. On the consolidated statement of revenues and expenditures, several revenue categories are exceeding the prior year, as well as the current year budget. Property and sales taxes, licenses and permits, and charges for services fall on this group, while gross receipt taxes continue to fall below prior year and budgeted expectations. At the end of May, excluding the bond funding, operating revenues were at $1.7 million ahead of the budget and $3.3 million over prior year for the same reporting period. Overall, operating expenses at the end of May, excluding the bond refunding, totaled $57.9 million, which reflects a savings of 2%, or just over $1.1 million from budgeted estimates, and the majority of the savings was realized in water purchases and capital expenditures. Turning to the individual funds, the general fund has collected revenues of $24.8 million, which is approximately 76.8% of the budget. As mentioned previously, property tax collections are ahead of both prior year actuals as well as current year budget. Sales tax collections have been very strong, exceeding prior year in every month for the fiscal year until May. For fiscal year to date, they're still exceeding both prior year and budgeted amounts. In your detail, we gave you the most recent data, including June collections, which were up compared to last year for the same period by 11.5%. So year-to-date collections are very strong, up 10.6% for year-to-date. Municipal court revenues vary from month to month based on case volume and timing of payments as reflected in this chart. Year-to-date revenues are currently exceeding prior year but fall short of budget expectations through May. We've got development revenue, also varies on a monthly basis depending on the level of development activity. While we saw this spike in February, March fell below the prior 2 fiscal years and April remained lower than last fiscal year. However, May collections were once again up and over prior 2 fiscal years. Year to date, this revenue category is surpassing both the prior year and budgeted levels. General fund expenditures through May are at $20.3 million, or 59.5% of the appropriated budget. With the exception of November, our rental receipts have also realized an increase every month as compared to prior years. Fiscal year to date, this revenue source is outpacing both the prior fiscal year and the budget. The June data shows this trend upwards to continue at an increase of 7% compared to last month for the same period. The Water and Sewer Fund has collected $11.6 million fiscal year to date, which represents 59.5% of their budget. Expenses through the end of May total $12.1 million, or 57.6% of the budget. As of May, the golf course is 689 rounds below budget and is running about 49 less than last year. And the average rounds is slightly under budget, but continues to be ahead of the prior year. These variances have resulted in an overall shortfall in golf revenues of $5,000. However, when combined with the increase in food and beverage, the revenues increased by $10,000 year to date. Operating expenses through the end of May exceed budget by $84,000. This facility has a net operating income of $541,000, which is about $74,000 less than anticipated for this point during the year. After factoring in debt and capital expenses, there is a net loss of $51,000 currently for this facility. Year-to-date revenues at Texas Star Sports Complex, which includes both Softball World and the parks at Texas Star, exceeded anticipated revenues collections by $73,000 through May, and the expenses at the complex were over budgeted expectations by $107,000, which leaves this facility with an operating net income of $129,000. After factoring in debt and capital, this operation has net income of $220,000, which is about $34,000 less than budgeted expectations. This is the main summary report. If you've got any questions.
Our investment portfolio, I assume since our interest rates are going up, that our investment portfolio will increase. Is that a good assumption?
It is probably a very smart assumption, yes. I haven't seen it occur yet on the overnights, but hopefully it'll be getting there soon.
Okay. Thank you. I'm curious how that plays
Well,
out.
thank you for highlighting it as you talk about it.
My little fireworks starting up a little bit.
The investment portfolio, we've been, over the last year or so, we've been decreasing the term in anticipation of change in the market. So you will see an uptick, but it'll go back. And you gotta bring some good things too.